What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom and become the rock star agent in your market. And we're talking today about how to do that with ease and how to do it in a much more relaxed way and change your habits, change your mindset, and really install a new set of habits that will take you there in a much more relaxed and flowing way so that you can actually enjoy being the rock star on your market and not have it be a horrible mental burden. How about that? So first of all, Greg, let me bring in my my esteemed esteemed in certain circles, but anyway, the junior grandmaster himself is in the co-pilot seat. Gregory, how are you today?
Man, I'm doing great. As of this recording today, guys, we have had a lot of tragedy in today's world. We had the mass shooting in Las Vegas. Tom Petty died. Matt Johnson made it to the podcast. Horrible things like this took place in today's world. But you know what? It's so sad to see so many lives lost. And I really took a minute and I kind of just stepped back a little bit. And I just kind of took a look at, took stock of all the things to be really grateful for, the small and the big things in life. I think a lot of the times, we forget to be grateful for the small things, and we focus on just the negativity in life or trying to achieve something large. And so I challenge you guys to take a minute, just be thankful for your kids, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your partner, your business, your life, where you live, all the small micro wins in life. Start taking those into account. And I'm saying that because Sarah is going to walk us through a lot of stuff. And I was sharing a story about when I started doing EFT tapping and some other stuff, and she sat there just totally blank faced. She goes, "Oh yeah, that's synchronicity." What was the word you used?
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. I was so close, but she's like, "Oh yeah, that's synchronicity." I'm like, "You say that so calmly," and I am blown away by it. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's no big thing." I'm like, "All right, well, if Sarah can be that calm about that, I'm super pumped to have you today." I followed a lot of the same stuff you teach. So I'm really pumped because I tell this to a lot of people, and I'm just glad there's another, human here that actually believes in this stuff and puts it into action, and the results you get in your life. And so, yeah, welcome to you, knuckles, high fives, the whole 9 yards.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Matt. Well, thank you. Awesome to be here.
We're excited to have you. And speaking of that, let's actually talk about synchronicity for a second, because besides being a fabulous album from the Police, which I love very much, let's talk about the concept of synchronicity a little bit. Because you mentioned kind of setting a definite intention or a definite purpose, which I love that. One of the books that I recommend a lot is Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, where he talks about having a definite purpose. And so go a little bit deeper on that, on what a synchronicity is. What does that mean to you?
A synchronistic event is something that will show up sometimes when you're basically when you plant a powerful intention, when you it's like making a declaration to the universe. You make a bold decision of something that you want to do or something that you want to achieve or obtain. And a synchronistic event is basically something that seems too good to be true or perfect timing. Usually it's an excellent timing. And there's a moment of recognition that directly correlates with the intention that you just set. So you know it. You are aware that you just had sent that intention, and it's just perfect timing.
So how can we do this on a consistent basis? I mean, the first time this ever happened to me was 3 or 4 years ago. I had made a decision earlier that week. I'm like, I'm going to be on live TV. I just made a decision. That Sunday, I got a call out of the blue, or an email out of the blue going to it from a TV personality here in the Bay Area going, "Hey, I want you to come on. Would you be interested in coming on my live show for a few minutes?" I'm like, yes, I would. Yes, I would. So how can we be more definite in making these occur in our daily lives?
The first step is just awareness. You have to, obviously, you can't shift something or desire something unless you become aware of what it is that you want to desire. So you have to bring awareness. And then the next step is clarity. And awareness breeds clarity. So you have to get clear on what you want. So a lot of people operate on autopilot from knee-jerk reactions or from habits without actually consciously becoming aware of what it is that they actually want. Once you become aware, then you get clarity. You get clear on what you want and why you want it.
Okay, so when I see something weird, all of you guys on iTunes, sorry, sucks for you. So that Mercedes right there is something that I have right now. See that white Jeep right there? I have it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8 2014. I have a meeting tomorrow at noon to look at that exact vehicle, same colors and everything, because I came clear on what I wanted. So weird how that.
Is that your vision board? So that's your vision board?
Vision wall.
Vision
I
wall,
literally have a wall. And I have my
That's
Pinterest
awesome.
board, my dream board, and all that stuff when I review it. And it's crazy how things will just show up exactly the way you want them in life, as long as you're clear on it.
So are you test driving? You're test driving that tomorrow?
Yeah, with $10,000 in my pocket to potentially put it down. Yeah, and buy that thing and drive off of it. And the funny thing is that Mercedes right there is something else I wanted, and it's actually in the shop. I'm selling that. But here's the cool, weird part about this, Sarah, is that I became clear on the fact that I wanted a vehicle that would eat the asphalt. Right? I wanted to growl. I wanted my Jeep, and I started really being in resonance with it and really putting in positive energy towards it. And all of a sudden, the universe shifted on me a little bit, and my Mercedes had to go in for multiple, fixes. And I'm just like, fuck it, I'm done with this damn car. And guess what's showing up in my life? The exact same thing that I've wanted the entire time. It's so cool.
Yeah. So that's a good example of how sometimes when you think things aren't necessarily working out, they're actually working out in your favor, even if it's something that you would at first seem to be a setback. Sometimes it's losing a job. Sometimes it's losing a client. Sometimes it's, something that would be perceived as a quote unquote failure or a setback or something like that. That's really, if you keep the faith and you keep the intention and that things are always working out for you, it's just an unfolding that's happening. You have to have some faith and trust in that in the universe to do that for you.
God, I think we're separated at birth. It's so awesome to have you on the show. I listened to a book, or I read a book for 13 months in a row called Follow Your Passion, Find Your Power by Bob Doyle. And that's what he talks about in that book. And I resonate with that so strongly, because a lot of the times people are bent out of shape because they didn't, like you said, didn't work with a client or something went wrong, but it's not wrong. You have put it into action. You're in perfect harmony with exactly what you're putting out into the universe. So no matter what's taking place in your life, let's say it's a breakup with a relationship, or, business is going south. Well, it's not doing that. You're actually going towards what you set your intentions, really at. And Matt is looking at me like I just told him he had a third eye in his head.
No, it's way funnier than that. So I'm watching the Facebook comments as we're live, and Paul Franklin has the best comment ever. And by the way, Paul, this is a great intention to set. He says, "Hey everyone, follow Greg around tomorrow. He's got 10 grand in his pocket." So my intention will be to drive up to Walnut Creek tomorrow and follow Greg around his Mercedes as it goes to pick up that Jeep. Happy birthday to me. I'm buying a new drum set.
I'm also 6'5", and I like my money where my money's gonna be staying in my pockets.
All right, let's Sarah, there was one thing I wanted to ask you before we kind of dive into your story. When you and I spoke on the phone when we were booking you for the show, you kind of mentioned, we didn't get a chance to really go deep on it, but you mentioned the idea of not chasing deals. And I think that is a feeling that I hear a lot from agents, a feeling that they don't like to feel. And Greg, you've talked about it in the sense that the clients don't like it either, because that comes across as commission breath, right? So what does it mean to you, and how does it feel different internally to attract deals rather than chase deals?
It feels more like an emotional surrender to the process, which they'll teach in sales classes too. You really have to detach from the outcome. Otherwise, you're operating from a place of fear. You're worried about what happens if you don't get the client. You're fearful of what happens if you don't close a deal. And if you're moving with fear instead of, trust, and, it's a totally different energy. It's a totally different vibe. And people pick up on energy. We're energetic beings, and you really are what what you're putting out is what you're going to attract more of. So if you're operating from a place of desperateness for a deal, you're just going to get more and more desperateness, or situations to make you feel more desperateness. And then people can pick up on that and smell it a mile away too. It's a very different energetic vibration than confidence. And,
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, you're either in resonance or you're in dissidence with everything in the universe. And that's why, like, sometimes if you hear certain types of music and your skin crawls, well, you're in dissidence, the opposite of resonance with that energy field. Like, a couple of my friends are like in like death metal, like garage band death metal, and the shit sucks so epically bad that every time I hear it, I feel like my skin's crawling. And so I'm definitely in dissidence in that.
Yes.
I'm in dissonance with a lot of music, most of what Greg listens to probably. But Sarah,
you like Mariah Carey? Don't lie. Come on.
I do. She was a phenomenal vocalist, but that's beside the point. Anyway, but before we dive into Sarah's story, I just want to briefly mention this show is sponsored by Get Now Business. That is our course that is for the last time here in October a live course where we actually deliver the content live and answer your questions afterward. We are switching formats for next month, and for any following delivery of that content, it will be changed up, and the content will be delivered through our training portal. And so guys, if you want to be live with us and get that content delivered live and interact and get all your questions answered and all that good stuff, make sure to sign up for this month. You can do it still basically today. So if you're watching, good luck. Go ahead and sign up. If you're watching after this, get in touch with us and we'll let you know exactly how to do that and what the new format is. But just wanted to briefly mention that we talk about a 4-step, very simple marketing plan to help get you rolling, get you business in the next 90 days by strategically going after the people that have a connection to you. And so people that you can resonate with, right? The people that have something in common with you, and they also have a need for what you do, so that you're not wasting your time with people that have they're not in resonance with you. They don't emotionally resonate with where you're coming from. You want to eliminate all that junk. So that's part of what we cover in Get Now Business. So. And one thing that we didn't mention at the top of the show is, Sarah, you are a licensed agent and have been for a while, and that is your main gig. So you're putting together, and that's how we connected, was you put together a course. You follow some of the same kind of gurus that Greg and I follow in terms of how we build our courses, which is how I ran across your course. But you have a background in real estate, so tell us a little bit about that so people understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, actually, I got my real estate license in 2008. So during the foreclosure crisis, and I joined an REO team. And just hit the ground running there as a green agent, as one of the buyer's agents here on a really big REO team in Arizona. So I was on a team for several years, and then I went independent, I think in 2010, bounced around between a couple of different brokers until I finally found a fit here with my home group, and I've been with them since. So. Yeah.
Very cool. So what's your, do you have like an ideal client or a certain type of specialty and niche that you focus on?
My business is really split right now, buyers and sellers. So I have a lot of past clients. I work well with investors. I still have a lot of repeat investors. So I was really fortunate to actually, when I started, I was slammed. I think I closed like 40 deals my first year as a realtor. I was writing offers from my car with a virtual assistant at home, sending them out via e-sign and stuff like that. So I built a nice little network, and I just really have a good past client database.
Nice. That's huge.
Yeah.
So you're able to so you joined a team, hit the ground running, got put in a position where you had enough leads, there was business coming in, you're able to build up a nice base, and now those people are coming back around and doing things. Either they're investing, they're buying, upgrading into another home and all that great stuff. So I know, Greg, we've had this debate a million times, and it's different for everybody, but I think this is the positive side of jumping in to real estate and joining a team right off the bat is even if you don't stay with them, it's not always, but it can be a really great experience. And it sounds like it worked out in your favor.
Yeah, it did. For sure.
Cool. So tell me a little bit. Yeah,
I want to jump in and figure out a little bit about, your first year doing 40 deals. I want to get back to a little bit on your mindset on that. Did you have that number put in your head? Were you just dropped into the deep end with boots on and you had to swim? I mean, help the listeners understand that.
No, that was a sink or swim situation. Just totally green. I had some transaction management. I had a real estate virtual assistant company before that, so I had experience with managing transactions on the back end for agents all over the country. But when the market crashed, so did that business, and so that's when I joined an REO team. But no, that was before I started my mindfulness training and things like that. So I was scattered emotionally and physically and mentally. It was busy, and it was very challenging. Yeah.
Busy and hectic, and you're probably like, there has got to be a better stinking way of doing this.
Yeah,
Good.
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was a great way to learn. I'm a quick learner, so it was a nice way to learn underneath a good team like that, and just be able to learn from experience very quickly. But yeah,
So now,
but
are you putting more intention into where your goals are going to be for obviously the end of 17, going into 18, your future? Are you building a team? Do you want to build a team? Do you have a team? Where do they want to go? Are you being more focused on directly, understanding what's going on that side?
yeah,
How
right.
was that? 19 questions, Greg? Can we narrow that down to one?
We could go for more, Johnson. We could go for
Mm-hmm.
more. I know Sarah can handle it. I have faith in her.
Okay.
Well, right now it's just me and my lead manager, and I'm sort of happy with that. So I'm not aspiring to be it's just, I do this coaching thing as well. So it's as big as I want it to be. And we might add one buyer's agent, but I have a lead manager and me. So that's where we're at right now.
So lead manager, kind of like a team manager, but just for the leads, like their sole purpose on God's green earth is just to handle your leads and nurture them to the point where they're ready to rock and roll.
And to the point where I do the CMAs and I'll do the listing appointments, or I'm still showing my own houses until I add a buyer's agent. But really the part that I don't want to be doing is the lead management on a regular basis. I like to reach out to my past clients. She gets on the dialer every day and she stays in touch with everybody that I've ever communicated with or emailed with or touched base with in the last 10 years. And she's constantly nurturing those leads and putting them in the CRM system, setting the appointments and making the calls and all that.
So that sounds like a dream come true for any real estate agent. Like, here's a stack of leads. Go follow up with them. I'm going to go sit on the beach. Call me when they're ready.
Yeah, she knows. Let me know when they're ready. She has access to my calendar and she'll book appointments and she'll just put them on the calendar for me. So I get involved when it's time to do a CMA or time to, we have a hot board going on. So anybody that's on the hot board, I touch base with every week. So if they're on the hot board, then they're more to the front of my attention. She nurtures them until they get to that point.
That's
nice.
Fantastic. Now, is this a job position that you created because you just didn't want to do the lead follow up, or is there a service that you went to, or how did this person end up in your life?
Well, actually, she's my cousin, and she's working on and she's in the real estate business. So, but yeah, she's great on the phone. I believe that, in real estate, you're sort of forced to be like wear every single hat. And that was one of the things that really was stressing me out when I first started. And so, but I come from a background of real estate management, like virtual assistant management for agents long before the term virtual assistant existed. So I'm like streamline queen, like everything's, paper transactions from the beginning and everything has a process and detail, you know what I mean? So I feel like the best, that's the best way for me personally to run it is to streamline everything as much as possible.
So I'm wrong. We weren't separated at birth. You and Matt were separated at birth because he's always on my case. Systems, do this, do that. And I'm like, whatever. I'll do it on my own damn time.
Yeah, Greg loves systems when somebody else does them and creates them and implements them and documents them and trains somebody else on how to do them. He's the systems king as long as he doesn't have to be involved. So Sarah, what was the exactly? I do have you figured out, Greg. Sarah, what was the turning point in this whole? So the journey that got you where you're at right now, to the point where you feel like you can kind of teach some of these principles on mindfulness and habits, and tell me a little bit about where that journey started for you.
It started for me probably 2012, 2013, so maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I really started to dive into meditation on a much deeper level and got certified to teach yoga, and started just my own self-healing, self-growth, spiritual growth process. I was pretty much my own test subject, and that's how it started. It started with synchronicity, actually. So
okay. The word of the day.
Yeah, I was just a stress ball before. I was a stress ball. I was a workaholic. I felt like I was always chasing something, even when I was making a lot, even with all those deals and everything. It's, you can be stressed if you're slow, you can be stressed if you're busy. I was one of those people. I was stressed all the time. It's like, even when you were successful, you're worried about you're worried about keeping the success. You know what I mean? So I was a worrier, and I was a stress ball. And so I really started to ask some of the deeper questions, like, what do I need to do to heal this? Because this isn't really the way I want my life to go. I don't want to be like, super stressed out and worried all the time, or chasing deals, and not having healthy boundaries, especially with clients, especially when I was busy starting out, being pulled paper thin, which is another reason I believe in having those systems in place so you can have peace of mind. There was no such thing as a work-life balance for me. So I had to start respecting my own boundaries and figuring out what was really important. And at the end of the day, wanting to be more at ease and feel, coming from a more place of peacefulness versus scattered and just sort of just dealing with the day however it was thrown at me, not really putting the pieces of my day together intentionally with how I wanted them to flow. And that's the huge difference of the transformation, is me being in a reactive state. Oh, so if a client closes, then I'm happy. And if a client, deal dies, then I'm not happy. And being such, like a yo-yo back and forth, like a tennis ball going back and forth, being so contingent upon my outside circumstances for happiness, basically. So I had to really go in deep and turn all that around and say, happiness is more, it sounds cliche, but happiness is a choice, and there's like a process to get there. And it wasn't, it goes back to that first step that I was talking about. Awareness is the first step, and that's where I started. So it was naturally drawn to me to start yoga. I naturally wanted to start meditation, and I feel like there was a huge, sometimes it's like it's more of a spiritual thing, I guess. Like when you're in a state like that, where you're stressed out, like sometimes that's the tipping point that helps you realize and where you need to be going. So I look back at it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Guideposts.
I mean, Greg, you and I on the show have talked a little bit about the role of disgust and the concept of, whether you want to call it rock bottom or not, but everybody is kind of in a different place on when they come to the decision that I'm going to change X, Y, and Z in my life. I was just talking with somebody about this the other day, and it reminded me, I think they asked me, like, when or how did I get off soda, something like that, right? So I grew up, I would consider myself like addicted to soda based on how I grew up. And so like I hit mid-20s and I'm like, I gotta stop this. So finally one day I just said, that's it. Like I think I was actually drinking like a 32-ounce thing of Dr. Pepper, and I put it down and said, well, no more of that. And I figured out a substitute to get me over the initial phase of like weaning myself off. And then I got myself off of that too. I'd stopped that cold turkey, and now I just drink water and coffee. And but I had tried multiple times before that to quit, to scale back, to whatever. For whatever reason, that time it worked because I was sick enough of it, and the negative consequences were vivid enough in my mind that I said, well, that's it, right? And it's tough to, man, it's tough to force yourself there, and it's tough to know when you're there. All you know is you're there when you actually follow through and you actually do change.
I quit two of the hardest things. I don't think I've ever even told you this. This will be the first time I'm ever talk about it out loud, really. But I gotta duct tape myself to the seat. Jackass. So two of the hardest substances, that people have ever said to quit are heroin, cocaine, and nicotine. Right. Well, I quit. I used to be a party animal, so I used to do a lot of blow, and I used to smoke like 1.5 to 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I mean, I smoked a lot, and I quit cocaine after I had a minor overdose, and I'm sitting in the shower bleeding, and all kinds of crazy shit going on, and I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm done, and I quit it. Made a decision, quit it, never touched it in almost 20 years, and I fucking hate it. It's a loser drug. I mean, it is an absolute loser drug. There's nothing beneficial out of that white powder of bullshit. And then the other one was cigarettes. I smoked for almost 20 years, that much, and then I just someone made a comment to me, and bam, done. Never touched them again. So when, like what you were saying, Sarah, when you have synchronicity, I'm never gonna get that word right, but when you're in harmony with the universe and your intentions, and you have a direction and you know exactly where you're going, anything is achievable. anything is achievable. You limit yourself in your future and your ability by what you tell yourself. So you say, oh, I can't do those calls. I can't do those doors. I can't talk to that person. I can't work in that farm because it's too luxury for me, whatever else, right? You've just stopped yourself from having success in those areas because you limited yourself. You put your own fences up. And that's such a shame. When people learn to take down the fences and they learn how to really let the universe dictate, to them what they want and give it to them. It's like the universe is your own personal Amazon. You can select anything you want. You just have to be okay with it and then move forward with it. So how did you take your fences down, Sarah? How did you stop limiting yourself and start allowing yourself the life that you have now, what you wanted?
Well, mine was a healing process because of my childhood. I actually had, a pretty dysfunctional childhood, where I became very guarded, as part of a defense mechanism. And I didn't know this at the time, but it was, I put up walls naturally as a form of protection from a very young age, from having an alcoholic, sort of dysfunctional childhood, growing up. And so when I finally went inward and said, okay, what do I need to heal? I literally got my answer in a dream. And I feel like, this is a spiritual process that anybody can tap into. And I had this dream where everybody that I had thought I was holding on resentment to in my life or had any ill feelings towards at all, with my dad being like the center of it, popped up in this dream. And I went around to everybody in this dream, sort of like trying to hide from them or make an excuse to go to the bathroom, things like that. It was like I was at this party and I just kept making detours, trying to dodge everybody. And at the very end of the dream, all I saw was my dad sitting right in the center of it. And then I woke up and it's like, I just got my answer. I feel like forgiveness was my first step. It could be something different for everybody, but for me, it was releasing, what's the word I'm looking for? Resentment. Resentment hardens people. And when you're carrying resentment, you can be you put up walls and you're very hard. You're not looking, the world is different. You're perceiving the world in a much different way than someone that's open and receptive and accepting. And really your perception is what's going to create your reality. So the way you perceive it to be. So if you're coming from a wounded place, that was my first step, was to get past that and really step into forgiveness and understanding the bigger picture of how some things that maybe seem like they weren't working out at the time actually are they're like gold to me now. Like those experiences are like gold to me now, because I'm actually able to help other people that have been through that same thing. And I get people that read my blog and email me about that. Like, how did you forgive your father? That are going through real things. So that was where mine started. It was a very spiritual. I asked and I received. When you ask, you receive. That's like your intention is a form of asking. Your prayer is a form of asking. If you stay open to it, and it's time, you wouldn't be asking these questions if it wasn't good timing. They wouldn't even be in your conscious awareness yet if you weren't ready for the answer.
And that really is. Yeah, because the awareness comes when it's supposed to come, and then when you have that awareness and you set a definite intention that I may not know how, but I'm going to fix this, I'm going to resolve it, then the resources start coming into your life, and maybe they were there all along, but your reticular activating system just was not, because that intention wasn't set. Your brain isn't looking for that thing out there. Right. Whether it's a book, whether it's a program, whether it's a mentor, or whatever the case is. They say, like, when the student's ready, the master appears. The master could have been living next door to you the whole time. But until you set the intention that, hey, I'm going to fix this specific thing in my life, then you overlook them. It could be as simple as that. And so I do think that's very, very true. Greg,
there's one thing I want to be clear on, guys. When we talk about the universe and we talk about all this other stuff, we're not taking away from God. We're not taking away from anything else. Your deity, if it's God or if it's not or whatever it is, it's like you giving your kids a set of blocks and say, hey, go make something out of these blocks. That's like the universe or God or whatever else. God is giving us the blocks, our minds, to go build something. So we're not saying, here's crystals and incense and, we're all going to sit around and chant. No, we're just saying that when we use, universe, we're just saying it's the higher being giving us the ability to change our lives and bring into our lives what we want. And that was a big turning point for me.
Because Sarah, while you were talking about letting go of resentment. The two things reminded me of. Number one was Vishen Lakhiani's book, Oh man, I just lost it. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. And he talked about this super high end productivity, like, for badass entrepreneurs and marketers and yada yada. So he goes there. Guess what it was? It was a forgiveness retreat. 3 days of going through your past and forgiving people. He said it was the best experience of his life, which I hadn't heard anybody in the secular world talk about that, which brings me to point number 2, which is there's actually a scripture in the Bible that talks about bitterness. He says that the root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble. And I think that's a very apt, I guess, metaphor for it being a root. It is something that is deep in there. That bitterness gets in there, and it has to be uprooted. And that sometimes that's a painful experience of like letting that go, because there. I mean, we can talk about forgiveness and letting go of resentment and stuff like that. You can find there's resources out there on like the practical like aspects of it. And Sarah, I'm sure some of that's in your course, but just that understanding that you can be set free from certain limiting factors in your life by letting go of stuff. Like just that principle, most people are not aware of. They're just now coming to an awareness of it in the business world, and they're coming through it. They're coming to that awareness through like Eastern philosophy, but this stuff has been in the Bible for thousands of years. So regardless of how you come to it, it's a universal principle of human beings. And you're right, Greg. It's like God gave us a mind, God gave us the building blocks, and he also gave us a lot of resources to understand how to use those building blocks to build the life that we want. So that's a very, very, very good point.
And the thing is, it's not like we're going against him by creating our own future. He's encouraged it because he gave us the ability to build our future. And when I wrap my brain around that, Sarah, and it sounds like maybe you have too, Matt, you have as well. Once you understand that fact that you're not doing something malicious, evil, weird, strange, you're just actually becoming more in tune to who you are in the world that we live in, and you can change your life with one decision. One of my favorite sayings is that your life is the sole combination of every decision you've ever made, and your life can change with your next decision, because you're going to choose going left or you're going to choose going right. That's a definitive fact. You can't go left and right at the exact same time. So if you guys don't like the way your life is going, your next decision can change your outcome and trajectory and everything that you want or don't want in your life. If you want to lose the weight, stop eating the fucking candy bars, fatty. All right. If you want to start getting more deals, start doing some more lead gen. Okay. It's simple, but you got to make a decision on which way you're going to go. And that's what I think is fascinating, Sarah. You made a definite decision. You said, okay, I'm going to go on an emotional journey. I'm going to go figure this out, because I did the exact same thing when I made a shift in my life. I had to change. Like I was at a point where I was so broken, so lost, emotionally destroyed after a horrible, something that took place in my life that I thought was never going to happen. And someone walked out of my life for no reason. And I'm like, I got to heal. So I had to get better. So I sought it out. And
I just needed a weekend off. I don't see what the big deal is. I just needed some space. Johnson. Come on now.
Well, hold on,
Sarah.
What was the thing that really kind of, what was that search for you? When did you give yourself permission to start that search? Because for me, I had to give myself permission for it.
It was just a constant. Like I was talking to Matt before the podcast, when we first met, it was just this conscious, like knowing that I wasn't reaching my full potential and that I was hitting my head on a happiness ceiling. Like this can't be it. I was painfully aware that there has to be more than the way I'm experiencing life right now. So I was just really aware that there was something in my way, that was keeping me from being happy, basically. Yeah, it didn't matter how many deals I was closing or how many, it was just all a reflection of my inner reality. Everything in my outer reality is a reflection of my inner reality. And then I didn't even know that at the time. I just knew intuitively. I feel like when you mention gurus or masters or things like that, yes, all of this stuff has been written and said before for thousands of years by many different people. But it really, I feel like we have our own intuition, our own inner like guidance system. To tap into your higher self, your soul, whatever you want to refer to it as, where sometimes it's like a knowing. You just have to do it. It's like something that it was a knowing. Yeah. I can really describe it.
Yeah. Matt, what were we saying? You tried to cut me off and I wouldn't let you. What were we saying?
Well, I wanted to give Sarah a chance in the few minutes that we have left to talk a little bit about the daily habits, daily mindfulness. So I'm curious, just Sarah, how you especially structure your day. If you want to talk about your mornings, that would be great.
Yeah.
But just what are some of the practical things that people can do to start implementing some of the things that you've learned?
Okay. Well, mindfulness is something that a lot of people will think meditation when you first think mindfulness, but it's really, you can practice mindfulness throughout the whole day. Mindfulness is more of it's just a self-reflective strategy where you start to become more aware and you start to become more of an observer. Meditation is obviously, it's proven scientifically to work and be very effective, but you can be mindful when you're eating, you can be mindful when you're walking, you can be mindful when you're driving. It's becoming more aware, and through mindfulness meditation, you become more aware through your senses, especially. So you start to separate your awareness by observing it. So you start to, you're like, who is this person sitting here meditating right now? Who is this person that has a sense of smell or sense of taste right now? And you start to really cultivate that inner observer. And when you do that, how it translates in our business life and in our real life, day to day, is you start to have that buffer zone of where you can choose and make those bold decisions and make better decisions versus react. It starts to give you that gap, a very small gap. And that little gap, that's where the magic happens. That's where you can exercise your conscious present moment decision, is in that gap. Otherwise, you're running around like on a knee-jerk reaction based on old habits and old conditioning.
So question for you. The book Power of Now. It's a great book. It talks about just being now in the present moment, not the past, not the future, but literally just owning what is happening now and being comfortable with it. One of my, I don't know how to describe him. He's my sister's husband's brother. Follow that daisy train. But he and I got to talk about this and how just being 100% now, who is the person, all like what you just said. And it's very powerful as far as when you start thinking about that and you start really understanding and dissecting every part of it, and then I felt a calmness. I felt I felt acceptance of everything around. Like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, and being comfortable in the moment.
Yeah, fear doesn't exist in the present moment. Fear exists when you start to let your mind wander in the past, or you're thinking about something in the future that you're worrying about. So in the absence of fear, you feel at peace. You feel your normal state. Your normal state is not this emotionally driven fear. Your normal state. So fear just is when you allow your mind to go run amok too much, and go not be so present.
Yeah, and keep the old, the acronym, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And it is truly, that is really honest to God, the truth. I mean, fear cannot exist as long as you bring positivity or something that's going to counteract it. And so what I do is I use a thing called the Sedona method. And the Sedona method is something that, Follow Your Passion, Find Your Power book that I talked about. This is the key that shifted in my life. When you're talking about doing mindfulness meditation throughout the day, what I did is I would take and I would, every time I had a negative feeling about something, I would take and I would own that negative feeling about whatever it is. And then I ask myself the 3 questions super quickly under my breath. Could I release it? Yes. Would I release it? Yes. When? Now. And release it out of my system. And that would allow me to move through my days and releasing negative energy as it happens. Because you can release it later, but it's not as powerful as if you release it in the moment. Would you agree, sir?
Yeah, I agree. To be exercising mindfulness throughout the day is the best way. And also, I think starting with your intentions in the morning, I feel also helps cultivate, because intention setting works. There's a lot of spiritual laws out there. Most people know the law of attraction. There's the law of intention as well. So when you set your intentions in the morning through a mindfulness practice, you're setting the tone for your whole day of what you want to attract into your life. But yes, when you're eating, are you really eating mindfully? Are you tasting the food? Are you enjoying the food? Are you stopping before you're full? Or are you just running around on autopilot? So you can exercise mindfulness in so many different ways throughout your day. A lot of times before I go to a meeting or I pull up at the gym or something, I'll take 2 minutes close my eyes and sit in my car and just sort of center myself with some deep breaths for like a minute or two. And it literally resets me, gets me back into, it just keeps me centered, keeps me balanced, and keeps me, you know, everything in our head can seem so much more dramatic and detrimental once, you know what I mean? We tend to work ourselves up so much in our head. We're like the only creature that I know of that can literally make yourself feel good by thinking a good thought, or make yourself feel bad by making a bad, you know, thinking a bad thought. You know, we are emotionally driven beings. So you got to pay attention to what's going on in your head, and being able to calm that and stay balanced sets the tone for your day. How you're going to react to people, how you're going to respond to clients, all of that. It's all your inner game.
It's so true. It's so true. And if you're having an off day, go pump the brakes, go do what Sarah does. Maybe go get in your car, go into the bathroom stall, go into a quiet private office somewhere, take some deep breaths, do some box breathing. Matt, you can go into that in a second. You know, really kind of get yourself back into center, and then go back out, because your life is going to pull you right, left, forward, and backwards, up and down throughout the day. So you're going to decide on how you react to each one of those circumstances in life. But if you, like you said, if the law of intention, my intention today is to get one lead, one contract, one whatever, you know, or my intention is to talk to that hot chick in the office, or that hot dude in the office. I mean, whatever your flavor is. I mean, set your intentions, and then the universe will get out of your way. It's the coolest thing, guys. If you guys haven't tried it, seriously, it's fucking awesome. Because you're when you see things happen for you, and then you're like, oh my God, that actually just happened. That just took place. Then you want to try bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger things.
And that's where you need experiential knowledge, because you can learn or read about it in a book or listen to this, and until you experience it yourself, it's not the same. But once you do, then you realize, you know, what I've learned though is this: you'll have more success with smaller things at first if you're trying to manifest something than something that you're more emotionally attached to, because you have a lot more resistant thoughts to those things that you're more emotionally driven. Maybe you're desperate for money, or maybe you're desperate for a client. That's why it's really important to detach from the outcome, because you can test this theory by planting intentions for something that you're not emotionally driven to, and it's not such a big thing, and you'll watch it pop up into your experience within an hour or two, or within a day. As you start to gain that faith, which is basically what it's faith, and then you can move forward and start to manifest bigger things that make more of an impact in your life.
Yeah, that's so true. Guys, focus on, you want to manifest a stick of gum. You don't have any gum. You know, start something small like that. Like Sarah said, your faith will grow off of this stuff. And I didn't believe it all when I first started. I thought it was the dumbest blinking thing on earth. But then when small things started arriving, I'm like, let's try bigger. That arrived. Let's try bigger. That arrived. Let's try bigger. That arrived. You know, it's really
pretty cool. And you got to detach from how it's going to come to you, because it can come in different ways. You know, I tried to manifest just $5 one time just to test it, and I got it like a couple hours later, but it wasn't a $5 bill. Someone texted me $5. It was just the $5 was the text message that came. So it's like the universe is still showing you in multiple ways. Like, you really have to detach on how it's going to come to you. When you gain clarity on what you want, your job is to know what you want and why you want it. The universe is going to be, it's like a matrix, and it's constantly adjusting to your perceptions and to your energy that you're giving off and to your intentions, constantly reorganizing different opportunities. So how many times have you listened to someone that's been super, super successful, and they say, never in a million years could I have dreamt this for myself? That doesn't mean they didn't have intention and they didn't have focus. That just means that they released the outcome, and the universe came in and just knocked it out of the park, because it has such bigger. I feel like one thing that I had to understand was that I'm always seeing just like a little piece of the puzzle on this big puzzle, and you're like working on a puzzle piece in the very corner. You don't know what the other pieces, how they're going to connect over there at all. But the universe constantly has its hand, you know, it sees the big picture. You know, your higher self, your soul sees the big picture the whole time. So you just got to have faith that those other pieces are going to fall into place.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Jobs said in his speech to Stanford, you know, there's no way, you know, that you can ever, you know, see how all the dots connect, be it that faith that they do connect. And I think that, like you were saying, Sarah, it's critical. is absolutely paramountly critical that you do not dictate to the universe on how this result is going to come into your life, because what you're basically doing, you're telling an infinite knowledge system, I'm smarter than you, back up, cowboy, I got this. When in reality, if you allow it to come to you, it'll come in the easiest, most natural form it possibly can. And like the Jeep and the Mercedes, that I'm talking about right now, I didn't want my Mercedes. I knew I didn't want it. I was getting tired of it. I started putting positive thought towards, the Jeep. Well, I had to go in and fix my Mercedes. It's a calamity of errors, 3 bent tires, then 1 cracked, then the tire was ripped, and then this happened, and then that was back ordered, then laundry list of stuff, to the point where, bing, Jeep shows up in my life. So the Jeep came here. I just didn't know how I was going to get here. And it came here by eliminating what I had previously brought into my life.
Right. Yeah. Things have to exit to make room for new things. So a lot of times the letting go process is really something that people have to embrace, because really an old relationship has to die in order for a better relationship to come into being. So it's just really part of what you have to be okay with, is that level of acceptance.
Exactly. Matt, lead us through a little bit of box breathing and what you do or have done, kind of how you kind of get your morning started, since we're talking with Sarah about morning routines.
Sure. So if anybody's read Unbeatable Mind by Mark Divine, he's a Navy SEAL.
Commander.
Navy SEAL commander, SEAL Team 3, if I remember right. So he created something for himself called box breathing. So the reason it's called box is it's like a 4-4 pattern. So 4 count in, hold for 4 count, exhale for 4 count, hold that for 4. And he likes to pair it up with a mantra. So it's almost like kind of transcendental meditation. So you're breathing in, you say a mantra, you breathe out, you say a mantra. It gives your mind something to focus on. So if you're not super experienced with meditation, it's really good, because you're not trying to not have a thought, which I can do that and it's fine, but it does take some training and some practice to get to the point where you can really let go and your mind settles down. And so on the way there, the box breathing, number one, is an excellent way to start working up towards that. But it's also just good as a standalone practice, because, I'll do it in the mornings. I'll pair it up with prayer or meditation, whatever. But I'll also use it. I used it a lot, like traveling the last couple of weeks, just sitting on the plane. And, whether it's turbulence or just people being freaking knowing, whatever it is, like that's really, a plane is really people-y, Greg. I don't know if you're familiar with this. It's very people-y in there. It's a tube with a bunch of people-y. It's very people-y. So there's
yes,
sometimes I know, and I like people too, but sometimes just not 6 inches for me. But So box breathing is a way that if you use it on a regular basis, especially if you start every morning off with it, it builds up such a repetition that then you can access it at other times when you want to get into that very calm, relaxed state, right? Because it becomes something that it becomes an anchor, in other words, that your body can use and go back to time and again. So guys, go get Mark Divine's book is called Unbeatable Mind, where he goes into the specifics of that, and then keep an eye out. So Chris Lockhead's podcast, Legends and Losers, that I produce, we were able to go down and spend time with Mark in his SEALFIT headquarters down in San Diego, and recorded a special 1 hour, like behind the scenes podcast episode with him that will be dropping within the next, I would say, month and a half. And so make sure to subscribe to Legends and Losers on iTunes and go back and get the original full length interview that Chris did with Mark here a few months ago. And learn more about that.
Hey, Sarah, what do you start off with breathing? Do you start off with a breathing routine at all?
Yeah, I do like 4 to 6 breaths in, and then I do a 2 hold count, and then 6 breaths out. So I'll do a hold at the retention and a hold at the exhalation. So depending on if your retention breath is longer, then it'll be more relaxing. So if like you inhale for 4, but then you exhale for 8, it'll be more of a relaxing breath. You can also do more energizing breaths that way too, by reversing that. So in my guided meditations that I offer on my site or in the course, I do guided to help people that are new to it and work that in their breath work.
That's awesome. There's so much to talk about. I mean, Sarah, we haven't even taken our baby pinky nail and scraped the surface here, because there's so much to uncover.
Oh, yeah, the routine that Matt was asking me about, the morning routine, I do mix journaling with mindfulness meditation, and And he mentioned gratitude at the very beginning too, I believe, or you did. So I have my own, I do free flow journaling, and then I'll do, things that I'm grateful for and things that I want to attract for the day, setting my intentions. And I'll follow up either before that or after that with meditation, up to maybe like 20 minutes. Science proves even like you need about 20 minutes to reap the benefits on a physiological level as well. But yeah, so that's sort of my routine. Sometimes I'll meditate at night as well. I find it relaxing, but usually I like to do it really first thing in the morning to start the day.
Yeah,
I can show this to you guys real quick. So I put this together over the weekend just to help me remember. So this is, if I can not drop my phone. So my daily rituals. And so that is, I would say the first 7 or 8 steps are the morning. The rest of it is just stuff throughout the day and then finishing out and yada yada. But so what I'm really working on is incorporating visualizing the day into my morning routine, capping off my morning ritual with that. It's stuff that I've worked on with my mentor, Pasquale, a lot. Part of his 6 suppressed elements of daily success, which is next level stuff. I can't even. We definitely don't have a Coke dealer's pinky finger to dip into that, Greg. But anyway, so there's all kinds of stuff. I wish we had more time to delve into that. But Sarah, if they want to learn more about you and more about the course that you offer and all that good stuff, how do they connect with you?
You can go to my main blog, which is sarah-rose.net. And then from there, I have free self-healing toolkit, which includes a forgiveness meditation, which is the same one that helped me release a lot of resentment 5 years ago. And also a love and kindness meditation. So guided meditations for people that are just getting started. We're supposed to think when we meditate, we're not supposed to think, but we have thoughts when we meditate. And a lot of people think they're supposed to completely silence their mind. And that's just a frustrating experience. So I always like to give guided meditations for people getting started. It's really important to know that your mind is wired to think. So thoughts will come up, but it's being able to release those in the meditation through a visualization process and things like that, which will help you be able to stay centered in the meditation. So sarah-rose.net is the blog, and that's where you can get the free stuff. And that's also where you can access the Habit Lab as well. It's all in one place.
Oh, awesome. Wow. Very, very cool.
You guys, I would strongly encourage you guys to go try this, even if you think it might be silly or if it's not for you or whatever else. I strongly implore you, please try this. If you just go by yourself in the bathroom, go do a guided meditation for 20 minutes, or just go in your room, do something, away from everyone, and just put your toe into the pool and just see. I didn't believe. I tried it. I'm a full-blown believer now in what this stuff can do, and it has transformed my life radically in a positive way. And I know in this business, we all get caught up in the rat race. Life gets crazy. The buyer doesn't work out. The seller is a jerk. You lose a listing appointment. The prospect went with someone else. You build up a negative energy very quickly. Learn how to release that and watch it just wash away. Because you're going to need it. If you're new in the business or you're just getting started and you haven't experienced this yet, just give it a week or two. You'll want to throat punch somebody in your business. And we want to keep that from happening.
I also just opened up for people that want to work on more of an intensive level. I'm opening up 5 spots for the month of October to work on a one-on-one spiritual coaching, where I talk about the 7-pillar process to manifesting. And we've touched on a few of those pillars today, with awareness and clarity being the first 2. So that's a 7-pillar process where for 8-week program, 7 weeks of going through 1 pillar a week, and then also identifying ego and where we self-sabotage so we can get rid of the blocks, because it's really about removing the blocks to your abundance and what you want more than it is trying to change something. You already are there. You just need to remove the things that aren't working. That's sort of my method. And so those 5 spots are opening up in October as well.
Well, Sarah, I'm sorry, but I think you misspoke. You only have 4 spots because I'm filling one of them. So
perfect.
Oh my God, so much fun, so much cool information. Sarah, thank you a bajillion times over. Love to have you back again
Thank
to
you.
talk more about this. This is something that
Yes.
a lot of people just don't understand or don't think about, because what we're talking about is, your subconscious mind, and that is actually like the undertows in the ocean, the actual ocean currents, not the waves you see on the top. That's your conscious mind. It's these strong undertows, these strong overlaying beliefs you have about yourself and where you're going, what you can and can't achieve. Once you understand this and how to control this with what you're talking about and what I have learned and what you obviously know a lot more about than I do, but I love to talk about it. Just gaining a grasp of this, guys, can transform you.
I mean, when you think about it, 90% of your actions are driven through your subconscious. That's what
Yeah.
So, I mean, you really can't afford not to look at it. Because,
but
you know what I mean?
we love to be an ostrich though, and stick our head right down a hole and just like, nope, doesn't exist, not gonna happen. I can change it myself. Okay, guys, go to Get Now Business. Sign up right now, you silly rascals, so that you guys can be a part of the October class. Last time we're doing it live. So if you guys want to do a live class with me and Matt, please do it. Otherwise, they will be in a different format and they will be recorded for you guys. So go to getnowbusiness.com. Matt put it into the link, and you guys will go from there. Sarah, any last words?
Just thank you for having me. I was really excited. Actually, it was a synchronistic event that actually got me on the show, because it was like the day before Matt contacted me. I was saying, okay, I wanted to get on a podcast, and I wrote down the steps of what I was going to take. And like literally the next day is when he reached out to me. So he said, I was never in this group. I'm never really popping into this group, but just for this one day, I popped into this group and saw your message. And it was just perfect timing, So that's a pretty funny story. But yeah, that's how it works.
See, guys, we got Sarah on the podcast just by doing what we talked about to do. So write down what you want, be intentional about it, and go get them, kids. All right, Matt, I'm going to put a bow on this beautiful little podcast. Guys, we do this because we love you. We want to see your success be exponentially larger than what you could ever imagine. So, guys, please tell a friend. Give us a review on iTunes, please. It helps us get served up to more people so we can help more agents. So give us a review on iTunes. We'll be back again with our next show. Matt, you're crazy, great co-host. Sarah, you're a blessing. We love you. Peace out, ninjas. We gone.